We continue discussing inference based on a single sample, and in this lecture I will focus on hypothesis testing. So I will start with how a hypothesis is formulated, and then I will show you how hypothesis testing is done about the mean, about proportion, and about variance. Suppose building specifications in a certain city require that the average break-in strength of residential sewer pipe be more than 2,400 pounds per linear foot. Each manufacturer who wants to sell pipe in the city must demonstrate that its product meets the specification. So as you can see, in this case, we're not interested in estimating the true population mean, but what we are interested in is testing a hypothesis about the average break-in strength of a residential sewer pipe. So we want to decide whether the mean break-in strength of the pipe exceeds or does not exceed 2,400 pounds per linear foot. So a hypothesis, this is a statement about the numerical value of a population parameter. So in our case, this statement is that the mean break-in strength of the pipe exceeds 2,400 pounds per linear foot. There are two types of hypotheses that exist in statistics. It's null hypothesis, and it will always be denoted by H0, and alternative hypothesis, which is denoted by HA, or it can also be denoted by H1. So the null hypothesis is the hypothesis that will be assumed to be true unless the data provide convincing evidence that it is false. This usually represents the so-called status quo, and in terms of notations, null hypotheses are usually specified as equalities. So null hypothesis is the so-called the starting hypothesis, and the alternative hypothesis, on the other hand, this will be the hypothesis that we can say the additional hypothesis that will be accepted only if the data provide convincing evidence of its truth. And in terms of notations, alternative hypotheses are usually specified as inequalities. So if we go back to our example with pipes, the null hypothesis will be that the true mean value is equal to 2,400, so the equality as it should be. And the alternative hypothesis is that the mean value is higher than 2,400, so as it should be an inequality. And what you need to know is that there are two types of tests of hypothesis, one-tailed test and two-tailed test. In its turn, one-tailed test can be split into two types, positive one-tailed test or upper tail test, and negative one-tail test, or we can say lower tail test. And if it's positive one-tail test, the alternative hypothesis will include the symbol higher. So if we go back to this example, we can see that this is a positive one-tail test, and the negative one-tail test is when the alternative hypothesis includes the symbol lower. And as for the two-tail test, the alternative hypothesis will include the symbol is not equal to.